So how do you turn that cold shoulder into an instant connection? Those that think you're competition, turn that into collaboration? Maybe they're an enemy and you want more empathy. Let's do it.
Maximize your influence. Kurt Mortensen is the author of Persuasion IQ, Laws of Charisma, and the best-selling book, Maximum Influence.
Welcome back to Maximize Your Influence. Kurt Mortensen here. This is podcast 546. This is the place where we learn the skills to increase your influence, to close with charisma, to persuade on command. It permeates every aspect of your life. And as you know, we all persuade, influence, motivate for a living. And as we've been talking about the last couple weeks, that self-persuasion, that mindset is so critical to your success. You can't persuade others if you can't persuade yourself. You can't lead others if you cannot lead yourself. Glad you're here. Let me know your thoughts, comments, suggestions at Kurt, K-U-R-T, at MaximizeYourInfluence.com. Let's dive into it and get into that persuasion blunder.
Don't!
So I was hired to monitor this negotiation, just to fly on the wall. It helps me with research. It helps me identify trends. And it helps the negotiator because I'm sending suggestions via chat, via text. And this one was over the phone. This was a real estate negotiation. Anyway, one party said to the other, "Well, how's the weather out there?" Now, that's pretty tame. We hear it all the time. Oh, it's hot, it's cold, the weather. And I think they were sincere, but the other person just got upset. Really? That's how you're going to start? You're going to ask about the weather? You can't start better than that? You got to be serious if you want to negotiate with me. And this person just went off. Now, I think to most people that's not a big deal, but let's take a look at that. What set them off? What type of day were they having? What were they looking for? I mean, that is social protocol to ask the weather. I know it is kind of cheesy, it's kind of old school, but it's probably better than nothing to start the conversation going. A couple things I'd look at here is, all right, do we want to negotiate with this person? What's really going on? And of course, don't take that personally, but you can come up with a better intro. I would recommend do your research on the person. We have so much information on people. In fact, there's AI that'll tell you everything about somebody before you even talk to them. There's social media. You can start off a little bit better than that. Again, probably better than nothing. There's other issues going on there, which helps you pivot during your negotiation. Maybe take a different route. But let's do a little bit better there than talking about the weather. Again, I'd say that's better than nothing than just launching into it, because that chit-chat, starting off friendly, does increase your success in a negotiation, according to Harvard, by 4%. So that's pretty good, but we can start off better than that. Do your research, get to know the person. You can get to know a lot about them through email, previous contacts, talk to other people about their personality, their style, how they like to negotiate, but do a little bit better research. Have 3 or 4 questions you can start off with, get the ball rolling, and start the negotiation in a better way. Now, if you want to go to the archives at MaximizeYourInfluence.com, by the way, that's where everything's posted. That's where the specials are. That's where you can take your free Persuasion IQ assessment and get more information on Influence University. Understand there is a percent of the population that doesn't want to talk about the weather, doesn't want the gushy chit-chat, and this is where you learn to pivot. If they're like, let's get down to it, they're right into it, they want to know about your expertise, they want to know you're willing to negotiate, you're going right into it. You can connect and bond later, but they want to know this is worth their time. That's probably what happened here. They want to know they have the right people on the phone, they're the experts, they can start the negotiation process. There's no time for the gushy chit-chat, weather, how you doing, tell me about your family talk. Now, some people need that. They need to develop the relationship. Some people want to get right into it. This depends on personality, this depends on culture, and depends on previous experience with each other. So do your research, know when it's time to pivot, learn to negotiate how they want to negotiate. That makes all the biggest difference in the world. Which brings us to our listener email.
Oh boy!
This is from Elaine from Georgia. That's in the United States. There's other Georgias around the world. He says, Kurt, I'm going to a lot of networking events, and I need to meet people to expand my business, to be a better persuader, to sell people my service. What are the do's and don'ts? It's interesting. I see some people open up right away and it's easy, and some people give me that cold shoulder and will not give me the time of day. So let's talk about that, and I'm going to start with the geeky Scarly article. So the title is Behaviors at Social Gatherings That Can Hurt Rapport or Cause Distrust. So everything you're doing, from how you start to your gestures, can trigger rapport and trust or repel others and cause distrust. So let's talk about a few of them. The first one comes from Mind Psychiatrist, interrupting others. Hey, we want to get our message out. We want to tell them what we're doing. But when you cut someone off, when you interrupt, there's a disconnect there. They want to talk about themselves. And if you ask them a question, you have to listen. I know you want to supersize what they're saying, have a better story, have a better joke. That's not why you're here. You're here to make friends and connections and network. So don't interrupt. Keep asking the questions. Wait your turn. Wait for that right moment. That hurts the connection. The more you can get them to talk, the more you can be a better listener, the more they're going to connect with you. The next one is you attack too fast. Now, the source is me. This is based on interview and talking to people. And what do I mean by attack too fast? You're talking to them too soon, in the wrong place, or at a bad time. It's interesting when you study retail persuasion. When you walk into a mall, there's what they call like a no-fly zone, where you walk in that door from outside, it's sunny, your eyes are adjusting, you're observing your surroundings. And for that first, 10, 15 feet, there's just nothing you notice. You don't notice the sales sign. You don't notice what's there. And that's true. If you attack them right when they walk in, they haven't observed. They haven't judged their surroundings. You got to give them a chance to acclimate before you talk to them. Maybe they're itching to get a drink. Let them get a drink. That's on their mind. If you try to talk to them while they want a drink, they're not going to talk to you. I remember going to an event and I was starving. They had Hawaiian food. I love Hawaiian food. I was ready to get there and I was a little late, so I was concerned there wasn't enough food. Person approached me, wanted to talk, and all I could think about, I'm hungry. I want some food. Is there going to be enough? Can I get over there? And they kept talking, and I don't even remember what they said. Too soon, too fast. Be careful when you approach them. And I was teaching a seminar on how to get your book published. And I had a book agent in the room, and we were talking about this, when to approach people. And she raised her hand, and she said she was in the bathroom, in her stall, in her area, in her personal space. So a book proposal came sliding underneath the stall with the person's foot. And she was shocked. She kind of pushed it back, and then they pushed it back to them. That's not the time or place to make a contact. And that's not even a real contact. Sending something underneath a bathroom stall. Another one that can trigger lack of rapport or distrust is, of course, lack of eye contact. This comes from Psych Central. And this one's tough because there's movement around the room. You're looking for other people to talk to. The most important person you want to talk to is over there. You want to make sure they don't get away. Hey, they're the most important person. You focus on them. Maintain the eye contact. Don't let movement or other things in the room or the food distract you. You've got to look them in the eye. And no phubbing. Remember phone snubbing? Turn your phone off if you need to. We're just conditioned, like Pavlov's dog, that if our phone buzzes or dings, we have to look at it. No, you don't. That is a big complaint, and that hurts eye contact. Another one that can trigger distrust or lack of rapport is you bruise their esteem. This comes from Mind Talk. Hey, you know from laws of persuasion that one of the laws is a law of esteem. You boost someone's esteem, it opens the doors to influence and rapport. You bruise their esteem, it shuts the door. So when you make critical comments about their appearance, their opinions, their choices, hey, by the way, don't talk about politics or religion unless you know they're aligned with you, because that can be a disconnect. Focus on being open-minded and accepting of their perspectives, their opinions, their thoughts. Make sure it's all about them and not all about you. And if it's appropriate at the time, show a little empathy. Acknowledge their feelings, their emotions. And of course, never discount their emotions. So be mindful of these behaviors, things that you're doing when you're networking and talking to other people. You can develop more rapport, develop more trust. If you take a little more time, be more aware of your surroundings, understand human nature, you can network, make more friends, be more successful, and of course, be more persuasive. So how do you turn that foe into a friend? Cause that enemy to have empathy, that coworker that thinks you're competition into collaboration. How do we do this? Let's back up and talk about why it happens. We talked about some of the subconscious things that happen at a party, at a gathering, right? Giving them time, not attacking too fast. And remember, when we walk into a gathering, we don't know anybody. We're heightened. We kind of have a little fear. If our friend's not there yet, what do we do? Who do we talk to? So our senses are heightened and we tend to misread cues. We start looking for people that are the enemy. It's how our brains are programmed. And if our expectations are these are the enemy, this is the competition, I have to be careful who I talk to, you tend to misread cues. You start to look for those things, and that could hurt the connection. We mentioned competition. If they think you're the competition, that heightens. They're looking for things where you're trying to wrong them, that you're the foe. And of course, stranger danger. You've heard that before. All strangers are dangerous. I mean, that's our caveman brain. It's how we survived over the years, how we quickly have to make judgments, especially in those unfamiliar situations. It could be a party, a networking event, a dark alley. So it could be the environment. It could be how the person's dressed. It could be their nonverbal behavior. These things your brain is picking up and triggering a feeling, friend or foe. This is competition. I shouldn't talk to them. Oh, a friend. I should network. And when you get into these tense situations, unfamiliar situation, it changes the way we think and how the brain works. So if the brain perceives someone as an enemy, as a competitor, the brain activates neural and hormonal responses. So it heightens our ability to detect threats, puts up our defenses, and it changes how we interact with the other person, especially if it's a person we feel that has wronged us. It's interesting for men that if someone's wronged us or we sense their company has wronged us, there's no empathy. We don't like them. It is definitely the enemy. Now, women, for the most part, we're generalizing here, can find empathy for people that have wronged them. They can understand it more. It's easier for women than men. But if we want to network with the person, we want to influence with the person, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt to see if that person has truly wronged us, or was it a miscommunication, or was it somebody else of the company? Because it changes the way we think. It actually activates the amygdala. That's our fear center, and triggers that fight or flight reaction. It leads to defensiveness and the inability to trust. So again, this could be history or even in your gestures or how you start the conversation. And when that happens, that fear response, it reduces activity in the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is responsible for rational thinking, that empathy, that impulse control when we perceive a threat. Basically, the emotions are taking over and it's harder to think logically. So when these things are happening, it releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, heightening your alertness to deal with that enemy. So that makes you less patient, more irritable, shorter answers. You're just not communicating effectively. And that leads to tension and validates, oh, yep, they're the enemy. So as this is going on, it suppresses that oxytocin, it suppresses that empathy, which you need. Remember, oxytocin is that hormone that's linked to bonding and trust. And of course, empathy connects you with people and can help create rapport. So this could happen during a workplace conflict, during a networking event, during family disputes. When someone perceives you as the foe, as the enemy, these things are happening in the brain. So this is a survival instinct and can make the conflict or the competition worse. So what can we do to turn that foe into a friend? Maybe there's history, maybe they feel your competition. What can we do? Well, let's look at our non-verbals. If our arms are crossed, our legs are crossed, our shoulders are pointed away from them, our feet are pointed away from them, that causes a disconnect. Be open. Let them see the palms of your hand. That's why we shake hands. Now make sure it's a good handshake, that's appropriate. Make sure you smile, that's very contagious, that you're animated. Again, good eye contact. They can see your palms. You can touch them on the shoulder if it's appropriate. There is something about a connection with trust, but nonverbals is a big part of it, whether you're online or talking to them face to face. Now, other negatives are if you're fidgeting, a bad handshake. You have RBF like I do. Look it up, where your neutral is just looks like you're mad. And smile more. That can increase a connection and give you a better positive first impression. Treat them like the most important person in the world. You're showing empathy. You're giving them eye contact, which decreases their suspicion of you. In fact, eye contact activates the brain's social cognition areas, and that helps you with rapport and making a connection. If you don't, people judge you as less personal and less trustworthy. Now let's talk about your tension. When you appear tense or nervous, maybe you're not comfortable talking to that person, maybe they have a different status than you, maybe you are concerned about something you need to talk about on the other side of the room. When you're fidgeting, you're restless, and that could be anything repetitive, constantly tapping your fingers, bouncing your legs, touching your hair, adjusting your hair, playing with your tie. Can all suggest nervousness, impatience, or even a lack of focus. Now, if you do those things once or twice, not a big deal, but if it keeps happening, it can be a challenge. Because I train charismatic presenters, charismatic speakers, that can make your audience nervous if you keep doing any of these things. And the same thing's true one-on-one. It makes them feel uncomfortable and that their presence isn't valued and there's something else you want to do. So when you're fidgeting or have these repetitive movements, it actually bothers the brain of the person you're talking to. It increases their cognitive or mental load, and it makes the conversation stressful and less present. And it could show them that you're nervous or full of anxiety. I mentioned touch, and I know you need to be careful with your company and society, but most cultures accept the handshake. And let me say, a bad handshake will set you back 1 hour in building rapport. Because a weak handshake can show lack of confidence, lack of enthusiasm. If your handshake's too firm or strong, can show aggressiveness or being dominant. Neither one you want. Mirror their handshake, practice your handshake. Don't get set back 1 hour in building rapport. And if you want to work on that, you can go to the archives. I did a whole podcast on the perfect handshake. But when you think about touch, can really help rapport and that connection, and it can destroy it. Make sure you know what's appropriate to the person, to the situation, and to the culture. And I'd also recommend, as we talked about, smiling, your facial expressions. Look in the mirror. Are you stuck in the RBF mode that I get stuck into sometimes? I don't mean to. It just happens. It's interesting when people come into a seminar, I'm setting up, I'm got my RBF on. Again, you can look that up, what it really means. But basically, my neutral is an angry face. And people come in and think I'm angry, I'm mean. And I'm not that way, but I'm focused on doing other things. So work on your facial expressions, work on your smiling, look at the mirror. Smiling is such a simple thing. It's very contagious, and it's a universal sign of friendliness, and you're approachable, and it helps with rapport. And it even triggers those mirror neurons in the brain to get them to smile, even if it's just on the inside. So there you have it, turning that foe into a friend, that competition into collaboration. That's our podcast for today. Tell your family, friends, and enemies about the podcast. We can be found on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. The special of the week can be found in your email or click on podcast 546 at maximizeyourinfluence.com is influenceuniversity.com. Now, there's a free area, but if you want the advanced 52-week training, the archives, the library, all my books on audio, and the persuasion software that persuades for you, check it out. Click on the link or go to influenceuniversity.com/special. Basically, 90% off because instead of doing a monthly membership, you get a lifetime membership of Influence University. Check it out. It also includes a free coaching session with me. So turn that phone into a friend. Take something that you learned today. Be a better connector. Learn how to develop rapport. Increase your trust. become a better negotiator, more charismatic, and go out and persuade with power.